Hi, how you doing? We're going to do a fight breakdown today. This time it's one of my favourite fights from one of my favourite films. It's the 2011 film Warrior, starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton, amongst other people. It's a fantastic film, the story of two estranged brothers who come together in a one-off mixed martial arts tournament. It's quite a serious film, but it's got some incredibly realistic fighting in it, and that's mainly because the producers of the film brought in a number of people from the world of MMA, some successful fighters, in order to help try and maintain that realism of the fight. And the fight we're going to look at today is the first fight in the film between Tommy Riordan, as he is at the time, Tommy Conlon we later find out, and Pete Mad Dog Grimes. So to put this in context, what we've got is a guy who's clearly troubled, but was obviously a very successful wrestler at school. He's in a gym and he's just working out on the bags. And in the background, there's some sparring going on. There's this guy, Mad Dog, is sparring in the ring, and he's obviously pretty good, but you get the impression that he's not a particularly nice guy. He effectively knocks his sparring partner clean out, at which point there's nobody to spar with him, and his trainer is trying to find somebody to get over and spar, and he says to ring that kid and offer him $200 if he can get it quickly, at which point Tommy wanders over and says, I'll fight him. There's a bit of dialogue, he goes backwards and forwards. Eventually the trainer agrees for Tommy to step into the ring. We don't really know anything about Tommy at this point. So when the fight starts, we've got no idea how this is going to go. Clearly we know that Tommy was a pretty good wrestler when he was a kid. But Pete Mad Dog Grimes is obviously good. So what we'll do is we'll cut across to the first scene of the fight and we'll see how it plays out.
Let's go. All right, let's go. Oh, hey, watch that team.
Firstly, this fight, this just looks good. They've kind of got that kind of seedy feel of a proper martial arts gym. And they've really captured that in this. We see Tommy getting his gloves checked, and they turn around, the beaker goes, he walks forward, and as they come together he throws out that front push kick, that teep, and it catches Mad Dog right in the chest and pushes him backwards. And one of the things I love about this fight is that it uses these techniques that are clearly there, they're absolute staples, but you don't often see them in top level mixed martial arts. Some people use them and they use them brilliantly well, but this kick, it's an absolute staple of Muay Thai. If you watch pure Muay Thai, then you see this all the time, but you don't see it hugely in mixed martial arts. It's got this reputation for being quite slow and easy to catch, and to be honest, all that says to me is that people aren't doing it very well. There's a Muay Thai gym that I occasionally go and train at. I've used for wrestling events and things like that, run by a friend of mine. He's over in Thailand currently, training again. And these guys are throwing these kicks, and you're not catching one of them, absolutely not. But you've got to be pretty good at that technique to be able to pull it off. It's not the sort of thing that everybody does. So it's a lovely way to open it up, and it kind of sets the scene that this is not going to be a walkover. The fight we saw in the background with Mad Dog Grimes earlier on had him effectively destroy his sparring partner, and the way he's come out of his corner, he clearly expects to do this again to this complete unknown. But this kick lands and everybody's suddenly like, oh, this might not be as easy as we thought. So let's see how it plays out and whether Grimes or Riordan gets the best of the next exchange. we start to see in this next clip, both fighters are starting to let their hands go a little bit. Mad Dog's clearly getting a little bit cross, and Tommy is strangely determined. We see Mad Dog throw a few strikes, and Tommy's covering up nicely, and they're not really doing any great damage. And just like earlier, we see the camera starting to pan around the people watching, the people in Mad Dog's camp, who are clearly there for him, and they're starting to look a little bit worried. And to further the plot, we see that somebody in the gym is filming this on either a small camera or a phone or something like that. And that's absolutely essential to the plot. That helps the story develop. And let's be honest, it's probably pretty accurate. If you were there watching this, you probably would film it, because not only from the point of view of the camp of Mad Dog does it give you an idea of what you're doing and what's working and what isn't, but you know, if somebody gets knocked out, brilliant, let's upload that, that's cool. And we see towards the end of that, Mad Dog throws this kick, Tommy catches it. If you've watched my breakdown of the Jack Reacher film, you'll know that I got a bit cross when Tom Cruise stepped in and caught that kick and then stood there and did absolutely nothing. This is a little bit different. He catches the kick and he instantly punches and knocks him to the ground, and that's pretty good. You know, you've taken away somebody's ability to move and regain their own balance by having one of their legs. Why not hit him? But yet again, this fight's not going the way that it should have gone, and we're starting to see that Tommy, as well as being determined, is actually pretty bloody good. So let's see how it progresses. We can assume that we know the way this fight's going now. Let's see if we're right.
Don't let him take it back. Don't let him take it back. Get up. Cover up.
We can see that Tommy hasn't just knocked Grimes to the ground and then stood back to let him get up again. He's followed him down, and we can hear his corner shouting, "Don't let him take you back, don't let him take you back, get up, get up." And Tommy's on top. He's got that fairly traditional wrestling stance where somebody's on their hands and knees in a high defence or parterre, whatever you want to call it, referee's position. And Tommy's got his hips against him. He's trying to put some weight in and he's putting some punches in. Mad Dog Grimes stands up. Now, I take a little bit of exception to this, because one of the things that wrestlers are incredibly good at is keeping someone in that position. Because the second you start to try and get up, you lose your ability to maintain your balance. And it's very easy for the guy on top, if he's skilled, and we're led to believe that Tommy is, to effectively roll you back down onto the ground and to get you on your back. Remember that in wrestling, what people are looking for is the pin. So what they specialise in is moving people around and getting them onto their back. And that's exactly what Tommy would have been doing in this situation. He'd have been keeping Grimes in that position. Unless, of course, he had another plan.
Cover up. Don't give him your back. Don't give him.
For the sake of the story, we'll assume that this was his plan all along. He's let Grimes get back up and he's followed him up, and he's popped that arm and he's come around behind him and he's taken his back. This is another one of those techniques that I referred to earlier on, these things that you do occasionally see in MMA, and when they're used well, they're fantastic. We see Tommy take his back, get hold of a nice waist, and then come over with a suplex. It's not fantastically well done, as suplexes go. He lets go of Grimes in mid-air, and that's probably a choreographical thing. What we don't want to do is actually start breaking actors. And the thing about suplexes is, if they're done well, they can be hugely destructive. You very rarely see them in mixed martial arts, but when you do, and they're done well, they're an absolute thing of beauty. So we're going to take a quick break from Warrior now, and we're going to look at a series of 3 little clips from a fight, the debut fight in the UFC of Rustam Hamilov, who was in The Ultimate Fighter, and this was the the final fight for the Ultimate Fighter to see who was the winner. And in the space of one round, he suplexed his opponent 3 times. Now, Rustam Habilov is a great wrestler and he's a Sambo practitioner, and he's a very, very good fighter. And this was kind of his debut, and it was astonishing to watch. It's one of those videos that kind of went round Facebook and social media, and everybody saw it because it was so impressive. Within the space of a round, he suplexes the same guy 3 times. The 3rd time knocks him out cold. So what we'll do is we'll just look at those 3 suplexes and compare them to the one that Tommy pulled off, and you'll see that they're slightly different. As Tommy goes back, he kind of brings one arm round and turns it almost into a type of slam so he can follow Grimes down to the ground. It looks nice in the film, but it's not as efficient a technique. But like I say, we don't actually want to break people. We don't want to be slamming people head first into the floor as part of the filming process. Nobody likes that. But anyway, let's see Rustam Habilov in action.
And Habilov is on him. High power time. He wants to get that right. Oh man, that is devastating.
I think not here.
He's so strong.
Oh, and again, he's tossing him around. He may finish it right here.
He's out.
You see what I mean? The first 2 follow on very, very close in sequence, and you can see the first time round Habilov gets him and brings him over, and the guy kind of twists away and he takes most of the force on his shoulder, and it doesn't do a massive amount of damage. The second time, either Habilov has got a slightly better position, or the guy's, his opponent, Vince, I think I can never remember his name, but he's possibly a little bit dazed, and the second one is a much more effective suplex. He actually lands him on his head. Then there's a brief break before the 3rd one, and you can see the 3rd one's absolutely beautiful. It's perfect. Lands him on his head, and he's not quite out cold, but he's clearly gone. There's no way he is intelligently defending himself at that point, and the referee is absolutely right to stop it. So I want to see more things like suplexes in the UFC, in Bellator, in Strikeforce, whatever, in top level MMA. We've got this kind of wrestling bias almost. We see wrestlers moving into mixed martial arts and doing incredibly well, and the vast majority of the top level fighters have a background in wrestling, yet they're not really using these absolute classic wrestling techniques, and I'd love to see it more. And I think part of the reason for that is the fact that people are looking at very modern freestyle or Greco wrestling, and not really so much at the kind of old catch style, or indeed, if we're being honest, at Greco. People might focus very much on freestyle wrestling as the wrestling you need for MMA, and it's very helpful, don't get me wrong, but Greco is also very helpful. Some of the more obscure styles of wrestling are very, very helpful. Catch wrestling, very, very helpful. But what catch does, and obviously I've got a bias towards this, is it allows you to integrate the striking, the dirty boxing, with the throws and the takedowns and the submissions, and it allows you to join them all together, which the others don't. When you take freestyle wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing or Muay Thai and stick them all together, you end up with a very efficient mixed martial art. But the skill then is in integrating them. Anyway, that's enough of that. Clearly I like wrestling techniques in mixed martial arts. Let's go back to our fight at Warrior and see how it progresses from there. When we left them, Tommy had suplexed Grimes and I got him on the ground. Let's see what happens next. Well, the friendly looking man with the tattoos doesn't seem particularly pleased with the way this is playing out. And Tommy's obviously let Grimes get back up and he's taken him into the corner, and Grimes is a bit stunned and he's not really defending well at this point. He's still defending, but Tommy's throwing in a series of little contracted arm strikes and one of them catches him. It's not looking good for Grimes right now, it really isn't. And from the point of view of the choreography, I think what we're being told in this narrative is that Tommy is utterly dominant in all forms. He's got the groundwork, he's got the wrestling, and he's got the striking. We've not seen any submission attempts yet, so maybe that's his weakness. But we'll save that for a different fight breakdown. But at the moment, we can see that Tommy's utterly dominating, and there doesn't really seem to be any way out for Grimes. Let's see if I'm right.
Cover up, damn it!
A beautiful tie clinch with a series of knees. Now clearly they're made to feel much more effective than they obviously are by the sound effects that we're treated to. But it looks good. Yeah, and to all intents and purposes, Tom Hardy wasn't the greatest natural athlete when this was being made. Erik Apple, who plays Grimes, was interviewed and said that, you know, in some ways Tom Hardy struggled to get the moves right, but it was such a good actor that he really pulled it off, and you can see that in this fight. It works. It's believable. You know, he's bulked up a bit, he's got presence, he's got this thing, and the techniques are pretty good. You know, I wouldn't want to fight somebody that could do that. And we can see from what's being shouted out by Grimes' corner that they're really not happy. Cover up, damn it. They know that he's in trouble at this point. There's only one way this is going. So let's watch it, eh? So Tommy kind of throws Grimes into the corner, and as he does that, he spins around, and as he throws him in, he's kind of almost a right lead, almost in that southpaw stance, not quite, but pretty close, and he spins around to this left lead, and he catches him with this punch that's driven by the rotation of his body right across the point of the jaw, and Grimes drops completely unconscious, his left hanging on the ropes. It's great. I love the way the fight develops. I love the fact that it's not just a fight for a fight's sake. It's actually telling us a story. The way the people fight and the way they react to each other is really integral to the plot, and it's letting us know about the characters. I like the fact that there's clearly more going on in this fight than we're led to see, but we can hear it. And effectively what they've done when editing this the way they have is they've shown us the bits of the fight we need to see in order to be told the story we need to know. And they've shown us the interesting bits. And not only that, but these moves actually fit with these characters. You know, Tommy is a big guy, he's pretty tough, he can clearly strike, but he's using traditional wrestling moves as well. Where he's got this Muay Thai background from, we don't know, but it's clearly pretty handy. And Grimes, he's used to intimidating his opponents, and when that doesn't work, he struggles. So I think as movie fights go, this one's great. It's a little stylised, and there are things that aren't quite perfect about it. You know, the way the suplex is performed, but you know, it's good. It's good. I like it. Go watch the film. If you haven't seen this film, please do. It's great. It's not just fighting. There's quite a lot of fighting in it. You have to kind of like that to enjoy the film, but it's not just about that. There's a lot of character development here. It explores some quite interesting issues. Nick Nolte is brilliant as the recovering alcoholic father, and the whole film is really good, and it's a bit of a feel-good film as well. I'll spoil that bit for you. So anyway, that's the breakdown of the fight between Tommy Rawden and Mad Dog Grimes. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. Click on that little link, like this video, that always cheers me up, and stick something in the comments. Let me know what you think. Did I miss something? Do you disagree about what I've said? Let me know. If you are enjoying my videos at the moment, please check out some of the others. There's lots of these fight breakdowns now, and I'd really like to know what you think about them. Also, if you can spare $1 a month, check out my Patreon page. You can support me by donating anything from $1 a month up to, well, unlimited really. So Bill Gates, if you're watching and you want to donate a couple of £1,000 per video, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate that. Making videos about martial arts and teaching martial arts is my living. So anything you can do to support me in doing that would be fantastic. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.